Okay, hello everyone. Today I'm going to be teaching you guys how I am managing my live funded accounts to get consistent payouts and to protect my accounts as best as I can, and also how I'm continuing to scale up using the same principles. Now, let me just preface this by saying this is my approach to managing live funded accounts. This is not a video on how to pass an actual funded account, but I can make that video in the future if that's what you guys want. And everything in this video is my own personal opinion, and this is not financial advice. Now, before we get into how I actually manage my accounts, I think it's more important that you know my mindset on live prop firm trading, right? So my mindset when you finally get your live funded account, it's not to go for the home run payout. It's every trader's dream to, get that 5-figure payout from one account. But realistically, that more times than not will end up to lead to you blowing your account. These big payouts will come naturally. They're not going to come by you forcing it as soon as you get your first ever funded account. We're not looking for a 10% return on, your first week of trading your funded account, because more times than not, it's going to lead to you blowing the account, which is not what you want. So my mindset is to make consistent payouts and preserve the accounts for as long as possible. I want to be able to make as much money as I can from these accounts as I possibly can, and honestly just get the best bang for my buck as I can from these prop firms, because once you've made back the money you paid for the account, everything from there is house money. So you want to be able to preserve these accounts for as long as possible, and that's done through how I manage my accounts, which I'll get into. And you need to understand that fundeds are designed to eventually be blown. So you cannot become attached to any account. You need to expect that these accounts, they're set up for you to eventually fail. So you can't become attached to it, and you need to stay disciplined with how you're going to manage your account. And it's also very important to continue to scale, as having more accounts will always be the goal. You're not going to become attached to an account if you have 5 other accounts. And you're also going to be able to make a lot more money more consistently if you have more accounts. So if you're trading prop firms, which you obviously are if you're watching this video, you want to get to what I like to call the golden point of prop firm trading. This is the point when you have multiple live funded accounts. Not speaking about any account size, just having multiple accounts, which I would consider a good amount to be 3 or more. Because at this point you can diversify your risk and you can make a lot more money more sustainably, right? You're not relying on one 6-figure account, or you're not relying on having to make a payout on that one account. Instead, you have 3 different accounts, which if you make a payout on 1 or 2 of them, then that's your monthly expenses paid for easily, right? And also, when you have more funded accounts, it's easier to scale up because you have a lot more money coming in, and you also don't have to make as much. When it comes to percentage gain and stuff, you don't have to make as much. So for me personally, I would rather have 4 50k accounts than 1 200 account. This is just because I can diversify my risk. And if I went into a losing streak, it's not going to affect me as much because of how I manage my accounts, which I'll get into. So this is what you should be striving for. Instead of looking for the home run payout, which will come, it will come, but you can't force it, or the one big account, you should be striving for more accounts and more consistent payouts. Okay, let's actually get into how I'm managing my live funded accounts now. So what I'm doing is I'm diversifying my risk across my 4 accounts. Basically what that means is when I take a trade, let's say I take a trade, I'll only be taking it at 1 at a time. So if I take my first trade, it'll be on account 1. Whatever the outcome of that trade is, no matter win or loss, the next trade will be taken on the next account, right? Makes sense. And the reason for this is it will protect me against losing streaks, and it will allow me to secure payouts much quicker in usually 1 to 2 trades. So what's important to note about how I'm trading these funded accounts is I'm risking 1% per trade, and I have a profit target of 1.5 to 3%. I'm not aiming for any specific amount within that, just within that range. As soon as my account hits profit in the account within that range, where even if it's 1.5%, I will log off the account and I will wait for my profit split. Like genuinely will delete the account off my MetaTrader, and I will not log into it until I've received that profit split. Because once I've reached that amount, I'm happy with the profit on that account, and I do not want to risk losing that money in the account, which of course there's always the chance you can make more, but because I have multiple accounts, if I secure 1.5% on each of my accounts, that is a healthy sum of return on my investment at the end of the day. So once I hit that profit target, I'm done with the account. I will log out of the account. So when it comes to you guys, and if you get to this point in your trading where you have multiple live fundeds, how much should you be risking? What should your profit target be? Well, it all comes down to understanding your system. So I know I have an average risk to reward of 1.75, and I have a win rate around 50%, sometimes even higher. So I know that within a sequence of 4 trades, there's a good chance I can secure a payout on 2 of these accounts, right? So maybe you have a higher risk to reward system. Maybe you should be risking 0.5, maybe 0.3. It all depends on what your system is. So with a 1.75 risk to reward system, it's a pretty low risk to reward for a system, but it gives me a higher win rate, so I'm able to risk 1% without worrying about blowing any of my accounts up, because I'm diversifying my risk, right? Okay, so let's go through an example sequence of trades and how risk diversification works. So I've used my results from this week, which actually managed me to secure me 2 payouts, and shows why diversifying your risk across fundeds is much better. So first trade of the week was a loss. So account 1 minus 1%, right? Next day, we move to our second account. Second trade of the week, another loss, minus 1R, minus 1%. So at this point, two trades lost in a row on a bit of a losing streak. There's a good chance the next trade is going to be a winner because I have a higher win rate system. Third trade on the third account ends up being a win for 1.75. So as you can see there, I made 1.774% on the account. Now I log out of that account. I leave that account. I don't touch the account. I've secured a payout. I'm happy to leave it. Next trade of the week for the fourth trade, and the kind of the end of the cycle when it comes to obviously my fourth account, then it will go back to the first account. Fourth trades ends up being a winner as well for 1.6 risk to reward. So as you can see, my account up 1.63%, log out of that as well. So now I have 2 trades left which I can be trading next week. But the biggest thing to learn from here is, so instead of at the start of the week, if I was trading all these accounts together, I would have gone into 2% drawdown, and then who knows how I would have acted after that, because instead of all my accounts being in 2% drawdown, I only have 2 accounts which are in 1% drawdown each, right? I wouldn't have to go through the stress of all of my capital being in drawdown. Like, I don't know how I would have traded if I would have let the pressure get to me if all my accounts were in 2% drawdown, right? But because I diversified my risk, I was able to secure 2 payouts whilst my other two accounts are only in 1% drawdown. That's not the end of the world. They're only in 2% drawdown. They're only, one or two trades away from being to a payout. You never know, right? But just imagine if I'd had a terrible week and I'd gone on a crazy losing streak and I'd lost 4 or 5 trades in a row, but I was trading all the accounts at once. Let's say I took all these trades this week were a loser. All my accounts would be in 4% drawdown, right? But because I diversify my risk, all my accounts would only be in 1% drawdown, right? So it protects you against losing streaks. This is probably the best thing about it, is it protects you from losing streaks. Having 4 accounts all in 1% drawdown is much better than 4 accounts all in 4% drawdown, right? So it's all about preserving your capital, and I hope this makes sense as to why this is going to help you preserve your capital, because a lot of people are not going to trade the same if all their accounts are in major drawdown. Like, I've gone through it. I don't trade how I should when all my accounts are in drawdown, so that's why I started doing this. You're going to trade a lot different when your account's only in 1% drawdown rather than an account in 4% drawdown. So, and finally, how am I continuing to scale? The way I'm continuing to scale is by diversifying my risk between 2 challenge accounts. So every trade I take, I'm just switching accounts. And because the way I trade prop firms on the challenge phase is pretty aggressive, there's a good chance one of these accounts might get blown, but there's also a great chance that one of them will be passed. And because I diversify my risk, there's just a much greater chance of one of them passing. I'd rather one pass and one fail than both of them blow, right? Of course, there's the chance that you could pass both of them if you weren't diversifying your risk and you were taking the same trades, but I think that you have a much higher chance if you diversify your risk. And another thing to note is once I have one live funded left, so let's say I secured a payout on three of these accounts and I have one account left, I'll just add it to the risk diversification of these 2 accounts. So then I'll be trading 3 accounts, right? The one live and the free challenge. So just continuing to diversify my risk, even with the challenges, in combination with, maybe one live funded if I've secured a payout on all the other ones. And yeah, you can also apply this to your challenges, because as I said before, I'd rather have 4 50Ks than 1 200K. So when I'm scaling up, I'm able to invest my payouts from my accounts to now I'm up to $100,000 accounts. So instead of buying 1 200K account, I'd rather buy 2 100K accounts and diversify my risk because I have a much better chance of passing. So yeah, I hope this video makes sense. I hope it can help some of you guys out to get some more consistent payouts and build more capital. But yeah, I can do that video on how I pass prop firms effectively. But yeah, I hope you guys learned something from this video. Let me know in the comments if this is going to help you guys out. And I'll see you in the next video.